Welcome to the Consulting Leaders Podcast, where we talk about the business of consulting. Whether you're looking to grow your practice or learn from the stories of leaders in consulting, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Guillaume Jouvencel, ex-PwC and co-founder of GHA Marketing. Join me as I interview the best consultants in their niche. Let's get on with the show. Albert, welcome to Consulting Leaders. Happy to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Let's jump straight into it. What pulled you into the fantastic yet stressful world of consulting, Albert?
Well, it's actually, I think, a wonderful story. I've always enjoyed, leading and working in different companies and working with teams. And one of the things that I experienced was I was the international director of a sports company. At that time, I was based out of Mexico City. I have lived in 6 countries, and that was one of them. And we were extending this sports program called Sports Leader to 6 other countries. And since I was the international director of this organization, I would travel to each country and I would sit down with the director that they had in each country to talk about their plan and what they were doing, how they were growing, and in the market, and how to implement new strategies and achieve the goals that we're looking to do as an organization. And I realized that really a lot of what I was doing was consulting, and I really enjoyed it because I enjoy new challenges. This whole thing of the corporate world wasn't really my thing. I hate being siloed and just being told stay in your lane. And so because of that, and because I just really enjoy helping people, and this is I actually started out my working career in the nonprofit world, and I switched over to the for-profit world. And so I've carried that sense of wanting to help. And so I just thought, since I enjoy it so much, and I've been blessed to learn a lot along the way, and before I became a consultant, that I could make a great living by helping people. And so I decided to pursue this career path, and it's been a great.
So what's the problem that you're solving now then? What is it that you help people achieve?
So the first thing is, who do we work with, right? I think that's important to understand so that the context of what I'm going to say makes sense, right? So, I used to work with Fortune. I realized that a lot of the work done there is very transactional, and a lot of it is challenging, and I enjoyed that. But again, it was missing, to me anyway, a human component. And so what I decided to do in my career is to focus more on the lower mid-market companies, right? So what I'm working on is small cap and lower mid-cap companies. And what do we solve for them? Well, in their cases, there's a lot of very strong-willed and successful businessmen that have not necessarily the skill set or the knowledge or the experience to know how to manage a company. And so what we bring to the table is a lot of these guys that are doing very well with their service, at some point they tap out. They reach as far as they can go. A lot of them have, again, never managed a group of 40, 50, 60, 100 people. Many of them have never developed a strategic plan. Many of them haven't created a model that, business model that really helps them to grow. So what do we solve for them? What we solve is scalability, is understanding how can I take my success that I've had up to now and scale that to help me get to the next stage, right? If you read, for example, the book of No Man's Land by Doug Tatum, right, he talks about how small companies grow and wanting to become mid-level companies, and all of a sudden they die in that process, or they go back to how they were before because they just couldn't make it, because it's not easy. It's very difficult. And if you don't have the right path or understand what are the next steps that I should be taking, it can really hurt the company significantly, and even the business owners as an individual. So we're bringing that expertise to resolve how to scale. I mean, because that does vary depending on the industry and exactly what you're trying to accomplish with your business model, and give the business owners the ability to actually enjoy their life and improve their quality of life, because, as a side product, if you want to call it that, because now that they've got the structure, now that they've been able to grow, they've been successful, they've got more cash flow, they have all these tools now it doesn't all depend on them. And so now they can actually enjoy the fruits of a lot of their work. But it takes time to get there. So that's the main thing that we do for our clients.
So how do you get your clients to find you? Well, potential clients to find you, because this is a very narrow niche problem, which I like. And I also appreciate the fact that you went straight into who is it that you serve. So many people are just going to be like generalists. I want to service everybody, which leads them to not serve anyone because nobody is able to relate. Can you tell us a bit more about how you market, how you brand, Albert? Like what has worked for you to get the attention of those people?
Yeah. So, I started this company, this consulting firm, over 10 years ago. And for the first several years, I was the classic consultant, right? Feast or famine, if you want to call it. Really for me, it was more what I call a lifestyle business. I would work hard, make some good money, then take off for a couple of months with my wife to vacation, somewhere around the world. We love traveling, right? And but then I realized that, one, that's not sustainable. Two, I wanted to build something real. So I modified my model into a subscription-based model, really is the way it is, right? And so how do people get to know me is I do a lot of business development, a lot of networking, and we have a very good reputation of successfully helping businesses. So I go out there, I go to events, people know me. I've given a lot of, initially, when I was starting off, I did a lot of free work strategy, and, in different organizations, like some 501c3s or 501c6s, like chambers or, organizations like that are focused on these types of businesses. I would go in and just offer my services, for free. So they would give me exposure. And then, the first few years, I didn't really get much traction, but after a little while, people started to realize like, wow, this guy really does know what he's talking about. And you know what? I'm interested in getting his help. So literally from every single workshop or conference that I would give, I would always get, like 3 to 5 leads, sometimes more, sometimes a little less. And then of those, I would usually convert either all of them or at least 1 or 2. So I would get, clients from that. And then I also, in my networking, I focused a lot on strategic partnerships, because I realized, clients need a lot of help and I can't provide it all because I'm not a know-it-all, right? I'm not an expert in everything. So sometimes we need to pull different people in. And so I just thought, hey, I can provide my client with a greater value by connecting with people that I know are very good at what they're doing. So when they need them, I can introduce them. But then at the same time, hey, I just brought you a client, and then I brought you a client and you a client. And then all of a sudden, I'm not telling them, hey, you got to send me a client now. No, I would build a real relationship, but it was honestly trying to help my client, which was also helping them. And in a way, it was paying it forward, because obviously at some point they end up sending me clients as well. And so it's just along these years, it's just been building up to a degree where I have many different channels. I'm getting referral sources from a lot of different people, because they know the quality of the work that I do, that my firm does. They know that I take good care of them. I make them look good. And, and sometimes, most of them, I can't actually even give them anything because, for legal purposes and stuff, right? Like, for example, attorneys or wealth management advisors, stuff like that. But there are some other people, like salespeople. Sometimes they're like, hey, I got a client for you, Albert. I'm like, oh, hey, you know what? I've got a referral fee that I would be happy to share with you, right? And so I built up this network of people who just send them to me because they believe in what I do. Other people, I do give them a referral fee of some sort of commission or whatever you want to call it. And also through my own workshops. And then now I actually charge for my workshops, So I get hired by companies to travel around the United States and Canada to talk about different business subjects to business owners. So now I'm doing business development, getting paid for doing business development, and I'm getting clients from there. So it just compounds, and it's just a wonderful approach and way of getting clients and getting known.
Did you deliberately develop this network, or did it come to you because that's what you are doing? The reason I'm asking this is, I believe anything can work, right? Referrals can work, SEO can work, dancing on TikTok can work, podcast can work, going speaking at conferences can work. But then it's just about, it's always much more difficult and more time consuming than we think it is initially. I think the dream of every consultant, right, is just to have clients knocking at the door with their credit card details ready. Obviously, that doesn't happen that much anymore, if it ever existed. So this strong referral partnership and network that you have, Albert, can you tell us a bit more about how you built it and how you make it? I like the give a lot first. And for people thinking about a potential acquisition channel, how should they go about developing a referral partnership network?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, I was very intentional of building this. Why? Because when I first started on my firm, nobody knew who I was. I've lived, like I said, I've lived in different countries, so I've had to not completely restart over, but in some sense, I've had to rebuild my network several times, right? Having lived in different places. And one thing that I realize is I need to leverage others that are known in order for me to speed up my own exposure and trustworthiness with people, because they don't know me, but they do know the person that recommended me. And they trust that person. And so it already gives me an advantage, right? So I was very intentional, and I've always been intentional about building that network. Now, one thing I also learned on early in my career through a former boss of mine was pay it forward, do good to others. So I treat other, if somebody asks me for help, I help them, right? I always, whenever I can, I love to send clients or prospects to other referral sources of mine first. When I meet somebody, like for example, I just met somebody, I guess 2 weeks ago, and then a week ago, we sat down. She's in HR, and I said, hey, I'd like to get to know more your services, because I'm always looking for people, that I can pair up and match. And so I do have a list of referral sources, and I classify them, obviously not just their skill sets and what they do, but also in some ways kind of their personalities and all that, because I want to make sure that whoever I'm recommending matches well with whoever I'm referring them to. I think that's important, right? It's not just, oh yeah, here's a list of 10 names, call them, It's like, no, let me find out who I think would work well with this person. And so that's given me more success, when I refer somebody, sending a good quality, referrals. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to treat them better, etc. So again, I'm doing some of the legwork up front for them. I'm not just throwing people around. And because I'm paying it forward, and then, I send one same person 2, 3, 4, 5 prospects. And then of those, several become clients, then they feel compelled just because I'm sending them some. And again, I don't hold them to it. I'm like, hey man, come on. I sent you 5 prospects this year. You haven't sent me anything. What's going on? I've never done that. It's never been tit for tat, right? It's been sincere. I want to help you. Why? Because I'm also helping my client anyway, right? I'm already benefiting just from that. But in this case, so one, it's a sincere help of wanting to help other people. And I think people read through that and they see it, right? 1, 2, I cull, right, the good referrals, and then I'm like, okay, who can I send this to? Because I might know 2, 3, or 5 people to do the same thing, but who am I going to send this referral source to of those 5? And that's where I come up with the criteria of, okay, who fits better with this size of business, with this type of industry, with this personality, and then I'll send them over, right? And so they're very grateful for all of that, and so that's one way, right? Another way is I go to events and I listen to people. I listen a lot. I think that's one thing that's made me a good consultant. I'm not the one that comes in. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'm not the one that's just telling everybody to shut up and listen to me because I've got, I've worked with 400 businesses. I went to Wharton. I worked with all these other companies. I was a direct. No, it's go there, sit down, listen, and ask qualifying questions. And I try to get to know my referral sources business well, so that again, I can refer to them and not the time. I'm intentional about that, and they love that. And they try to correspond the same way, towards me. And then I go to events. If you're not present and if you don't go regularly, and then after a while from going to events, you pass on to, let me go to your office. Hey, or let's go grab coffee, and then get to know them, not just as professionals, but as individuals. I mean, come on, again, that's one of the reasons why I left kind of that corporate world and the consulting with the large companies, is to be able to build real relationships, on this level and connect with people. And obviously when people like you, they're going to send you referrals, right? If they see you as like, yeah, this guy, he's always on the clock, man. This guy's always selling me. And this guy's always asking me for stuff. If they see you the other way around, like, oh man, this guy's always sending me, this guy's always helping me, this guy's listening to me, they're gonna feel compelled to want to send. And that's it. I mean, there's, in my view, there's not necessarily secret sauce. I do, whenever it's their birthdays, obviously I reach out. If I see something on Facebook or LinkedIn, I'll comment, and I'm authentically happy for their successes and stuff. So obviously all of that comes into play. So I hope that answers the question. I hope I wasn't too long-winded, but really that's what it's all about. I don't think it's too complicated. It's just being honest and just being there.
This is why I love the podcast format. We have all the time in the world. So no, I like it a lot. And I think that makes sense. That very much matches the abundance mindset, right? It's like when you understand that in order to grow your business, you need to be a giver, not a taker. And when you start developing, so I like the way you break it down for referrals, Albert, because I feel the very much same way in regards to content, right? Especially when you sell like 5-6 figures. Information is not that much the point anymore. It's more like the actual execution, stellar execution and speed that matters in business. And I think giving away for free everything that is scalable, of course, anything that requires your time shouldn't. But giving away all the information for free, being in an abundance mindset, literally telling people how to do it and how to get results. And of course, among those, there's going to be people who are actually going to take that resource, get the results on their own, and they will not have paid you for it. But now you have super strongly reinforced behavior with those people so that when you say something, you have a form of authority in front of them. I think it's a bit the same format with your referral partners. It's like give until they also ask how they can give back. That was another long-winded answer, but yes, I liked it. Talk to me about retention. How do you, once you engage with a client, how do you keep it as a client? And by that I mean, how do you, beyond the first project, identify other opportunities to make the most out of these clients, but also, of course, keep on providing value to them?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question, right? I think a lot of consultants commit the mistake of trying to squeeze as much as they can out of a client. And obviously it depends on the type of client you're working with, right? But again, I've created what I call a subscription model. So I don't have the feast or famine problem that consultants have, because I've got retainers and I work with clients. I usually, my engagements, first of all, my engagements are all 30-day notice. I do not force anybody to be with me 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, 2 years, whatever. I don't. Is that risky on my end? Yes. But I've been lucky that my business, I think it's about 2 times that I've actually had somebody say, you know what, we're going to end it. And it wasn't necessarily because of our work. It was just, other factors. But what I've always believed in is to always provide value. So if you don't see value in what I'm doing, you've got the freedom to move on, right? Tell me to get lost, right? We're not benefiting from this, so let's end it, right? And again, that's never happened. Actually, the contrary. I think over 70% of the time, we end up extending our engagements indefinitely in many cases. And in a lot of cases, at least 2 or 3 times, right? The original engagement timeframe. And that has allowed us to build on several clients, right? So we're not bringing on a client and then I lose them and I got to get another one. And you're just constant in that rotation. And it's just so exhausting, right? So what we've done is we have a methodology, right? We call it the 3Cs of Scalability. And it's something that I've developed along these years. And we have a method that we walk our clients through. When we end that and they have all the components they need to scale and to run the business better, at that point, our engagement changes, right? It becomes truly more advisory. It also becomes a little bit more coaching. It becomes therapeutic, therapy sessions. I mean, you name it, right? A lot of these business owners, they feel lonely. They don't know who else to talk to. And I've been blessed. I do have 4 master's degrees. I have run businesses in the past myself. I've worked now with over 400 businesses in different industries. I and my team members, right? Because, for example, one of my team members was a former assistant of corporate finance at GM. Another one was he sold his franchise. That he was running $100 million franchise that he ran for 25 years. I mean, we've got some very qualified consultants on my team, and we have a extensive breadth of experience and knowledge, and especially with the sector that I work with. They don't need a specialist in one thing. Now, we are specialists in several things, but we also have extensive knowledge on a lot of things. And that's what a lot of these, again, in my sector, the lower mid-market and small businesses, they need someone like that. They need one person they can go to help them with a lot of different things. They don't have time to go and talk to 5 or 6 or 10 different people. Now, obviously, if it's something legal, that's totally different, right? If it's something fiscal, but again, we bring a lot of best practices. We bring a lot that we can bring to the table and help them resolve that. So what I'm trying to say with all this is that once we finish our formal engagement, then it ends up extending because they love the value that we're providing. And because we're able to help them on so many different levels that it just continues. And it becomes very natural. It almost becomes a habit, if you want to call it that. Jokingly, some of my clients, like especially during COVID, they're like, Albert, don't worry, you're part of payroll. We're not getting rid of you. Because that's the first thing that came to my mind when COVID started. I was like, oh my gosh, my business is gone, right? Everyone's going to fire me. I'm going to tell you, we probably did way better than any previous year up to that point during COVID, because I think people realized they needed my support even more than they did before. And also, I'm not using the business as my piggy bank. So I build savings and all that. And then that allowed me to hire another person, an assistant, right? An analyst, right? Another consultant. And so that's allowed me to be able to grow. And so that's why we're able to maintain clients for an extended period of time. They feel they're getting serviced well because it's just not just me that I'm getting burned out. And so this relationship ends up growing. And then I help them not just with the business, but I also, again, I provide a lot of value. I know a lot of financial, wealth management advisors, financial advisors, et cetera, and or financial planners, I meant. And, my clients, when they start doing well, now they've got capital. They're like, hey, what do I do with this? I connect them with people. I don't get involved, but I connect them. And so again, they see the value, and then they end up inviting me or some of my team members to their Christmas parties. They invite me to sometimes even their baptisms and, all like personal family stuff. Sometimes, I go golfing with them, it just becomes a real relationship. So it extends, right? Because there's a real relationship. So on a human level and on a professional level, we're providing value, and we end up working together for a very long time.
I like that. And I think at the end of the day, People are only going to pay you if you keep on providing value, right? This is kind of the business 101. Don't just keep a consultant around because they are nice. So having a way to keep on providing value with your clients after the engagements is how you're going to retain more. And this is how eventually you're going to grow your business, because it's all good to acquire customers, but if they keep on linking at the back end of this, talking about the firms that are looking to grow and like significantly improve. The other thing I want to double down on, Albert, which is so important, we don't get to talk a lot about it on the show, so I'm going to take the opportunity here, is, and there is no judgment of lifestyle whatsoever here, just giving my 2 cents of what I've seen working for when I get into masterminds groups, not my own, but like people who are way ahead of me, and what I see working. People will have the lifestyle that their last paycheck will allow them to get. What do I mean by this? If you don't keep some money that you're going to reinvest in your business, you're never going to take the next risk, because you have all those expenses to take care of in your personal life, which again is fine if that's what you want to do and how you want to live by. I like to think about business as in an opportunity only looks like an opportunity in retrospect. When you get it right now, it's a risk. And that's what making a risky investment means. You can have a potentially high reward. I'm just saying this as per to the, hey, I have savings, I have everything taken care of in my personal life, so I can literally hire someone, which is a huge risk, right? You're hiring someone, training time, ramping them up, recruiting, but you're able to do this because you understand that growing a business takes investments, and everything that's coming down from the bottom line doesn't necessarily have to go into your personal bank account. It can also go into reinvesting and growing the business. More of a mindset aspect than typical consulting business talks, but I thought it valuable. Let me throw a little bit of a curveball at you, Albert.
Sure.
What's your number one challenge right now in your business? What's the one nut that you're trying to crack that once you crack, you're going to take the whole thing to the next level? What would that be for you?
Well, right now, to be honest, like our personal one is looking for a good office manager. When I started to grow, I wanted to I debated, right? Should I hire a consultant first to make more money, or should I hire an assistant? And so what I decided to do was, I try to eat my own cooking, as they say. I believe in maximizing before growing. That's part of my methodology. And so I said, no, I'm going to hire someone that's going to help maximize me so that I can tap myself out. Once I am completely tapped and drowning, then I will bring on someone else. And so I first got an executive assistant, and that was the best thing I ever did, man. I mean, she saved me so much time. She did an amazing job. And then I said, okay, now I need to look for a consultant. And so I started looking for that. It took me a little over 2 years to find one. I believe in finding the right person and not giving up, and I'd rather have that than the wrong person in the seat. And I just kept looking and looking. And, I met a lot of people who had great skill sets, but I just didn't feel like they had the values that I have, right? And so I found the person that I believe had the same values as I did. And it didn't have necessarily a lot of business consulting experience, but did have business, obviously, experience. And so I trained him for 6 months, followed me every single meeting I went, and that person came on board and all that. And so that was tough, right? But now that we've grown, we have more consultants. We actually, for the first time now, have a sales and marketing manager, because I just can't keep up, right, with all the leads and everything that's coming our way. And I believe I've lost several because I just haven't had time to follow up. So, that person is now helping with us with that. But the one thing that we still continue to struggle is finding someone that has a good skill set to be an office manager, right? Because my executive assistant, she did great at first, and I wanted her to become a manager. She just didn't have a skill set to manage more than just be my executive assistant. And so, we needed to look for someone else, and that's the struggle that we're in right now. And because of that, that's the person that has to handle, a lot of the practical, transactional activities that happen in the company. And so sometimes some of those transactional things fall on me or another consultant, kind of tag teaming doing this while we're trying to find that person. And just having someone with the right skill set and the right values has been very difficult. So to be honest, that's our biggest challenge right now.
Thanks for sharing this. It's always going to be acquisition or supply, and making sure that we can supply properly. And this type of challenge is an interesting one because it means business is good and things are growing. Yes. Albert Assad, ladies and gentlemen. Albert, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
Well, they can contact me on our website or through our website. It's Atlantic, like the ocean, right? Atlantic-C as in Charlie, S as in Sam.com. Or, they can call 404-831-1592, or they can email us at consulting@atlantic-cs.com.
We will put all the links in the description. I can say one thing for sure, Albert, is that you've gained at least one new connection on LinkedIn out of this interview. Me, I just added you. Albert, thank you so much for coming on Consulting Leaders.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me. And hopefully this was helpful to everyone.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Leaders Podcast. We hope you learned valuable lessons on how to grow your practice and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.